Okay, continuing on. When you start Junior up, it will always come to this screen first, the swatch screen. And that's because if there's any one place that you put more permanent information about how you're going to use the system, it's here. This is the only place on the system where you can tell it that you want to work in centimeters. And notice how the little dashes come out if you have that selected. In addition, it comes in centimeters here, or inches. And once that's set, there's no other place anywhere else to do that. Okay, and as well to calculate the stitch and row gauge, that's where it happens here. So this is kind of the startup screen and where you can set things a little bit. But now we're going to explain how to type in a stitch and row gauge. All right, the master stitch and row gauge is always stored here, as I think I've covered before, and it's the same in any of the other calculating screens. You simply touch in the middle, it slides out, you click on the row that are there, meaning you're going to put in the row gauge you have, and note that it shows that it's either 10, you're using a gauge that is based on 10 centimeters or 4 inches. So when you measure 4 inches, you're going to get 23 and 23 rows. Of course, if you counted the rows, it's always probably it might come to a half, which is 0.5. And notice when I type in, if I measured, and I know my stitch gauge is 24 and 0.2, there's no place to type a decimal here, as I think I might have said before, but that's because if I would have let a decimal come on this screen would have been much smaller. All the keys would be at least half the size, just to include the decimal. So I left the decimal out. Like on a lot of calculators, you don't have to type the decimal. You just type in the number, and your last number you put in is automatically the decimal place. So that's all there is to that. It makes it easier to type with your thumb. All right. So whatever you type in here at the top in the rows shows up along the edge vertically, and whatever you type for stitches in the bottom shows up here. Now, I did one thing there without explaining what I did. When I hit this little I, that switches it to if you're doing stitches by 1 inch. So if you could, measure 1 inch of material across the width, you would, if you could do such a thing, is count 6.1 stitches. Probably you would get 6 stitches. And same for rows. In 1 inch, you would get 6 or 5.9 rows. But if you are used to using the more modern way, you would go by 10 centimeters in a row, 4 inches, or the same for stitches. So this allows you to enter in either system or see the equivalent if you did. If you don't like what you put in, you hit cancel and it goes back to what it was. If you do, you tell it you're done. There is no save buttons anywhere on the screen. Everything that needs to be saved is saved. And right now, all that really is the gauges you're using and whether you're in stitches, whether you're in inches or in centimeters. This little question mark helps you find a little bit about what each of these elements on the screen can do. So just press the little question mark with your finger if you want to make sure you're using it in the right way, and you'll be okay. So that's how to put in a stitch and row gauge you know. For 1 inch or by 4 inches, you just type it in and tell it you're done.